Hello, good morning. It's Episcopo Squirrel here, also known as Alchemage. And this morning, I'm going to discuss my story about how natural medicine has given me my life back. So, back in 2013, or maybe it was 2014, excuse me, I started experiencing some extremely severe symptoms that no matter what I did just would not go away. I was having, anytime I would eat anything, including water, drinking water, I would have acid reflux. I would start spitting up my food. I would start spitting up stomach acid every time I would eat something. I started developing severe pain, and it was really difficult to do a lot of things. It made it hard to leave the house. I became extremely depressed. I became suicidal again, and life just was really unbearable. If just think about it for a second. If you couldn't eat anything without having severe discomfort to the point where it was painful, and just waking up, laying in bed hurt, moving hurt, it makes life really difficult. And it makes moving on, moving forward, trying to see the light in the next day that much more difficult. I was talking to my mom about this type of depression the other day, and it reminded me of this new paint that they've this new paint that they've been developing over the past several years, where you can spray this paint onto something and a 3D object then looks completely flat, completely two-dimensional. It takes out all features, and it's because it's absorbing all of the light, and so no light can escape to give it any kind of feature, any kind of contour. So a sphere just looks like a flat circle. And if you look, you can go ahead and just look these images up, and it's absolutely mind-boggling. But that's what this kind of depression is like. You know, it's not just this sadness where you're feeling upset. It's this darkness that overwhelms everything that you do. It becomes your life, and it absorbs all of the light, all of the hope that you might have been able to develop throughout the day. And though there are times where you can laugh and somewhat enjoy yourself, those moments are very short-lived, and they don't feel real necessarily, especially when you reflect on them. Anytime you get into things that you enjoy, you don't feel that joy, you don't feel that pleasure, you don't feel that happiness. And so it just becomes really difficult to do anything because you don't get joy out of it. You don't get pleasure. And so I was in this deep depression. I couldn't eat things. I didn't have money, mind you. I was living off of my disability. My pay was less than $500 a month at the time. And so, I still had to pay rent and all this other stuff. Luckily, I was in a rent assistance program, so I wasn't paying a whole lot in rent, but still, I was paying about $100 a month in rent, and, I had my phone bill, my insurance, and food. And so, eating organic, I've eaten organic, home-cooked meals as much as I possibly can since about I moved out here, really. I've been trying to really take care of myself. I've been through a lot of stuff over the past 31 years. And so, um, eating that kind of food is really expensive. And so I was just constantly eating just beans and rice. It's like all I could eat, all I could afford to eat. And so, I had all this stuff going on that was making me just depressed and in a lot of pain. And I didn't know what was going on. I kept going to the doctor, and the doctor couldn't find anything wrong with me. They put me on Prilosec to try and help with my acid reflux. Prilosec didn't do anything. For those who are unaware what Prilosec is, it's called a proton pump inhibitor, and so it reduces the amount of acid that's being produced by your parietal cells in your stomach. And so this Prilosec didn't do anything. They did a bunch of blood tests. I can't remember all the tests they did, but they did a bunch of tests on me, and they couldn't figure out anything. And they did MRIs, everything, and nothing ever came up. They couldn't discover why I felt so much pain. And one day, I went home after an appointment, and I can't remember if someone had mentioned fibromyalgia, or I came across an ad or something. Somehow fibromyalgia came into my thought sphere. And so I went home after this appointment, and I want to clarify, I know for a fact it was not the doctors who mentioned fibromyalgia. The doctors didn't know shit about what the fuck was going on and couldn't even give a guesstimate of what was happening. So somehow fibromyalgia came up in my thoughts. And so I went home after this appointment and started researching fibromyalgia, and everything that I was reading was what I was experiencing. So I started reading some experiences of other people, some of their testimonies of dealing with fibromyalgia. And just the first few that I read, I was instantly moved to tears. And it was because of a lot of reasons. Fibromyalgia, nobody knows what's really going on with fibromyalgia. There was one study that was done about 3 or 4 years ago. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago at this point, where this one doctor was able to determine that 100% of her fibromyalgia patients, compared to her normal patients, had an increased amount of nerve endings in their palms. Again, I don't think this has ever been replicated, so can't really go much off of that, but it is someplace to start. To me, I think fibromyalgia is a nervous system that went on hyperdrive and doesn't know how to turn off and keeps developing. And so regardless, that said, I was moved because people don't know what this is. I was moved to tears because there isn't a cure. There's treatment options, but there isn't a cure. And I was moved because I finally knew what it was I was experiencing. And I was moved because I finally knew that I wasn't alone. And though I knew from that moment on that my life forever will be very difficult, I made it a promise to myself that I'm going to try everything that I can to be able to bring myself back to some semblance of a normal, healthy life. During these first year of experiencing fibromyalgia and knowing that's what I was going through, I struggled really a lot with the idea of what a healthy life is. You know, we are taught by the media, by uh, the mainstream culture, that to be healthy means to be fit, means to look a certain way, to act a certain way, to eat specific things. And I struggled with this because having fibromyalgia meant that I would never be truly healthy, at least under this premise. And so I struggled and finally came to the realization that being healthy doesn't mean you have to look a certain way, be able to do specific things. Being healthy is the act of taking care of yourself. And this is different for every single individual because we are individuals. Each of us has our own body chemistry, our own mental makeup, our own physical makeup. Everything about us is each unique. Therefore, the idea of being healthy is unique for each of us. So, when I finally realized that this is what I was experiencing, I did a bunch of research for months, and I'm still, there's still times where I do research on fibromyalgia. But I did a bunch of research on both Western and Eastern practices of treating fibromyalgia. What I came to find was in both the Western and the Eastern practices, the only thing that you can really do is eat well, lower your stress, exercise, and sleep regularly. Now, it's kind of funny that I say these things because if you remember the symptoms that I was mentioning, I couldn't do any of those. I couldn't eat well. A, I couldn't keep food down. B, I couldn't afford very much. I couldn't sleep well. I still don't sleep well. I'm still trying to figure that out. I've been sleeping a little bit better over this past couple weeks, de-stressing a bit and taking magnesium baths almost every night. It's been helping a bit, I think. But I couldn't exercise. I was in so much pain. I couldn't do any of these things, So, and I couldn't de-stress. It's hard to de-stress when your life, just living life, hurts. That's stressful. It's really stressful. And so, I, having practiced spagyric alchemy for several years at this point, I decided to really dive down the rabbit hole of herbs and see what I can do to alleviate the symptoms that I've been experiencing. I decided to start with food first, being able to eat, as that's a pretty important activity we indulge ourselves in every day. And so, where did I start? I started with taking a shot of half water, half apple cider vinegar before eating. That just, it kind of helped. I'd still get some acid reflux, but shit, I'm sorry, I'm losing my space here. I was talking about, oh yeah, I'd still get some acid reflux, not a whole lot, but I would get migraines really bad. And it was almost like instantly after taking it, it's like straight to my fucking head. My head would just start hurting so bad for hours and hours and hours. And then I remembered, hey, my father, my biological father, he once told me that he gets migraines from anything with apples in it. So I stopped doing that. I started taking betaine hydrochloric acid tablets. And on top of that, I also started taking, what is this stuff called? Here, I'm gonna move you guys for a second, bring you with me. Hopefully you guys can see me. I don't have my front-facing camera. I dropped my phone. What is this stuff called? Slippery elm bark. Don't know if you can see it, but slippery elm. Powdered slippery elm bark. This stuff is amazing. If you have digestive problems of any kind, well, I don't know, I can't say of any kind, but if you have digestive issues, I highly suggest looking into using slippery elm bark. This stuff is incredible. So basically, you just mix it with warm water, let it sit for just a few moments so it begins to congeal, and then you drink it. And you do this about 30 minutes before you eat. And at the same time, I would take my hydrochloric acid tablets about 30 minutes before I would eat. This, over the course of about a month, allowed me to really start being able to eat things again. I still got really bad acid reflux from certain foods. Cold water still really would trigger it. I'd get these like massive gas bubbles that would just get stuck in my stomach, and it would hurt really bad. And I was dealing with this the whole time. And so from there, I realized that there was still a lot of healing that I needed to do. And so I continued to research on what I can do. And I found something called the GAPS diet. What is it? It's gut and psychology syndrome. And basically, this diet is an elimination diet. And it works on the premise that a lot of what's going on in our body and our mind is based on our microbiome or microbiota. And things like acid reflux and depression and a bunch of different things are caused by a basically pathogenic microbiome, an unstable microbiome. So this diet is meant to flush out these harmful microbes and reestablish a healthy microbiome with beneficial microbes. And so basically this diet begins by just eliminating everything. You start for the first week or two with just bone broth and yogurt. And this is all stuff that you make at home. You don't go to the store and buy some bone broth and yogurt. This is all stuff that you make at home yourself, so that it is the most nutritious, the most nutrient-packed, most beneficial, most probiotic that you can possibly make it. And so I spent several months going through the different stages. And with each stage, you slowly add foods in. And by the time that I got through several months, I could finally eat things. I could drink water. And, I wasn't dealing with this horrible, horrible pain from eating every single time. I I healed my gut. It was phenomenal. And I could actually start eating regular foods again. And I found this out because I went to the Oregon Country Fair that year, and actually, you know what? It was 2016. It was 2016 that, here you go, OCF 2016. I got this for cleaning up trash. Just no one asked me to. I was just going around picking up trash because I wanted to pick up trash, and someone gifted that to me. But it was 2016, not 2014. So I've only been dealing with this for 3 years. But at least knowing what I've been dealing with. And so I went to Oregon Country Fair, and I ended up locking my keys and all of my food in my car. I thought I had lost my keys, so I could have just called a locksmith to come and get the keys out, which I did at the end, but I thought I had lost the keys, and so I kept waiting. I was waiting until the end and kept asking at the end of the day if any keys had been turned in. And but I had all of my food in a cooler where I had dry ice on the bottom, keeping my third and fourth day foods frozen so that all the top foods were good and I could eat them. But I ended up locking everything in the car, and ended up eating out of trash cans and eating just whatever food I could get. It was nothing new to me. I didn't mind it. I've been homeless, and so it was. I didn't deal with any bloating. I didn't deal with any gas. I didn't deal with any spitting up of acids in my food. I was amazed. It was mind-blowing that I could do all that healing. And so from there, I just continued focusing on what I could for reducing my pain and helping me sleep. And as far as reducing my pain, I use cannabis a lot. CBD is incredible when it comes to managing nerve pain. THC manages just body aches and the physical aches, but CBD really helps control the nerve pain. And as I said in my last video, my whole draw to alcohol is because it helps with my pain. I have an extruding disc in my neck between C4, C5 that's causing spinal stenosis, sitting on nerves, and for the longest time, this entire arm would just fucking kill me. And I've gotten a lot of work. Orthogonal atlas adjustment is just a small tap to the atlas bone, which is floating there. This is more natural medicine that I've had done. And it readjusts the atlas bone, because the atlas bone, like I said, is just floating there. It doesn't have any cartilage in between it to hold it there like all the rest of the spine, like the rest of the spine does. Holy shit. The vertebrae, that's what they're fucking called. The rest of the vertebrae do. So it goes out of whack really easily. And once that top goes out of whack, you can imagine the rest would have to try and realign with it. And so they just do this tiny tap to the atlas bone, and it realigns it. And the rest of the spine then aligns off of it. It helps to have massage therapy going on at the same time. I had a little bit of massage therapy going on at the same time, because what happens is, though you adjust that vertebrae, the muscles have been tight and pushing everything off to the side, or holding it in place off to the side for so long that when you pull everything into the middle, it's going to want to push it off to the side again. And so doing the muscle, or doing the massage therapy, getting into the myofascia to really release those muscles and allow the spine to set again is really beneficial. And after just one or two, I think it was the second one, I stopped really developing pain, nerve pain, severe nerve pain in my left arm. I still occasionally get the numbness, but the pain is gone. But CBD, I would get these spikes of pain, and I'd just smoke a little bit of CBD, and instantly it'd be gone. I had CBD distillate that a friend had given me, and I would put a little bit on the end of a spliff, or I would take a dab of it. And I found really smoking the CBD oil did a lot more than vaping the CBD oil off of a hot nail. So, yeah, I continue to do everything I can to heal myself. There's been a lot that I've done. I could go on and on and on, but I feel like I've been talking for well over 10 minutes now, and I'm just going to really bring this to a close by saying that plants, food, it gave me my life back. And Western medicine couldn't help me. Western medicine did just more to confuse me. And so I'm not telling you don't go see doctors, but find the right doctor. My doctor at the time, thankfully, was very open and willing to listen to me, willing to hear what my experience really was, not tell me how things are. That's how my current doctor is, and that's how a lot of my other doctors have always been, telling me how things are, not allowing me to exist as an individual. And so just find the right doctor. If you can, go to a naturopath, someone who really has a holistic set of skills, rather than just focusing on pharmaceuticals and prescribing pharmaceuticals and treating symptoms. Find someone who has a holistic approach to health and sees that there is place for both plants and for pharmaceuticals. But plants are really, should be our first go-to. Unless someone's in dire situations, and even in dire situations, there are plants that can help. MRSA it's antibiotic resistant. Oregano oil kills MRSA. So there are dire situations that can be healed with plants. But certain things like surgeries, which not all surgeries are necessary, we're a cut happy nation. But there are surgeries that are necessary, and this is stuff that Western medicine is really good at. So I guess that's the moral of the story, is just find someone who has a holistic approach to healing, and really do a lot of research yourself, so that you as the individual are well informed on what you're going through and the different types of plants that might be able to help you, how changing your diet might be able to help you. And yeah, I'm now very, very happy to be alive, very happy to be here. I wanted to die. I was planning on killing myself when all of these symptoms came to a peak, and I had multiple plans to kill myself. It was a really hard time, I'm I'm grateful to be alive now. I'm grateful that I've been able to heal so much to come to this point where now I'm studying to become a doctor, a naturopathic doctor, someone with a holistic mindset of skills, so that I can help other people when they come to a point of just pure exhaustion with everything they're going through. Hopefully, I can be that beacon to help them see that there is a way to find health, to be healthy, even with chronic diseases. There's a way to be healthy. Thank you. I hope you all have a beautiful day. Many blessings.